Hi, everybody. Today I'm here with Lindsay Merbaum. Lindsay, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. So, I am an author and a high priestess of home mixology. My first published novel, The Gold Persimmon, is coming out October 5th, which is less than 6 weeks from now or something. Oh my God.
Very exciting.
Thank you. It's an experimental work of queer feminist horror, and I'd be happy to talk about what that means. And it's coming from Creature Publishing, which is a small women-run press focused specifically on feminist horror.
Very cool. Tell us a little bit about your book. Like, I read on your website the little bio you have, but if you want to give a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so this is an unusual book, to be sure. The book basically portrays two parallel narratives, and one of the mysteries or intrigue about the book is how those two stories connect or what ways they don't connect. In part one, we enter this luxurious, beautiful, but extremely quiet hotel called the Gold Persimmon, and we learn about what the purpose of this hotel is related to the clients and their grief and a kind of isolation they experience within the hotel. And we focus on Clytemnestra, who works at the hotel and is very devoted to her job, and also has heard rumors about weird things going on at the hotel that she's not sure if she should believe. Clytemnestra gets involved in a relationship with someone who's a recurring guest at the hotel, which is a serious no-no, and some drama unfolds. And then we arrive at part two and find ourselves in a completely different New York City hotel. This one designed after the style of Japanese love hotels, which, if you're not familiar, is really a series of hotels that people stay in for short terms that are designed to help them connect physically. The rooms may have all kinds of bizarre themes, like an igloo or a train or a doctor's office or an S&M fantasy. And so here we meet a young non-binary writer named Jamie, who's looking for a job at the hotel, really for the sake of researching for a novel that they're trying to write. And something strange and inexplicable happens to the city that day. A fog descends and panic ensues, and Jamie finds himself trapped inside this hotel with several other people, some guests and some staff. So that is the overview of what goes on.
Very interesting. The hotel, I'm like stuck on the igloo thing. Like, I want to go to a hotel that has an igloo thing.
It's very weird. I think what fascinates me about it is it's like this convergence of people's desire and their grotesque. There isn't actually an igloo room in the hotel that I wrote, I'm sorry, but there is a room that looks like an old-fashioned train. There is one that looks like the Garden of Eden. There is one that's horse themed. There are all these different rooms that they stumble upon while they're so, I mean, I just find hotels to be fascinating spaces because they're very public, but also very private. And they do serve different purposes, from like really opulent, fancy ones where they're trying to keep everything running smoothly to, the maybe seedier hotels who aren't as concerned with their image, and everything in between. To me is quite fascinating how we service travelers on their journeys.
Right. Some of them you're like, I'm just sleeping here for a few hours and then I'm going to be out all day. It's okay.
Yep. Some of them you're like, the bed's shaking. I hope that's not ghosts. Okay. Yeah.
I hope it doesn't collapse on me.
That too. I hope I'm safe in here. What's scarier, ghosts or bed bugs? I would say bed bugs.
Bed bugs.
Yeah, I've only encountered bed bugs at Airbnbs, but that's a whole other special frightening novel. Yeah.
You could write your second book on that.
Yeah. Well, I've already written my second book, but that one takes place in a bar and not a hotel. No bed bugs yet. I could probably get that in.
Well, I also saw on your website that you write some short stories and essays. What do you prefer more as a category, or do you like nonfiction versus fiction? Or
that's a good question. For a long time, I knew I wanted to be a novelist and that was my ultimate goal, but I couldn't quite find a way to stick with a story that long. So I kept writing short stories, which is also how you're trained as a writer. If you take workshops and stuff, you focus on stories because they're digestible for a class setting. But ultimately, my goal really was longer work. And now that I've gotten more into the rhythm of writing novels, that is really my favorite place to be. That is really what my jam as a writer, I guess, because you get to really stick with the same characters and storyline, yes, but you have so much space to explore that terrain and to delve into side characters and, build a lot of atmosphere. And you just don't have the space to do that in a short story because it is by definition short. And also the shorter it is, the more publishable it might be. Whereas novels just give you a lot of room to run. And maybe rope to hang yourself with also could be. But there's just you can get away with things in the structure of a novel that are harder to pull off in a story. I do also really enjoy writing essays. I find it challenging in a different way. I actually find it in some ways easier to express ideas through fiction than actually through nonfiction essay writing. There's something about using metaphor to tell a story of an experience that for me just kind of clicks more with my subconscious writer brain or whatever that is.
You touched upon something that I actually like when I'm reading. I like series because I like those characters to keep going on. And I get very sad sometimes if the books are really good and like the series ends.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of your hardest challenges with writing, whether it's your essays or a novel or?
Well, with The Gold Persimmon, the structure was really the challenge. And the structure is part of what's weird about it and unique about it, which people are going to have different reactions to, of course. But it really felt like a puzzle. Like I had these disparate pieces and I did not know how to make them fit together. So that was really challenging. In future books, sometimes it's really just about the scope, the massive scope of the story and the number of characters that I need to balance. When I was writing The Gold Persimmon, I actually initially struggled a little bit with part 2 and the variety of characters and how to portray them from one person's perspective. And I've given myself more room to play with that since, which has been really fun. But, it's still a balancing act. I have to keep copious notes to remember what color was that person's eyes? And, wait, did that happen before that happened? It's a lot of planning and project management to put a book together. You have to have some kind of system. So I think that's definitely part of the challenge of it. And just simply getting your butt in the chair and banging out a novel that might be, 80, 100,000 words, one word at a time. That's a challenge for all of us.
Right. It is such like a relief when you get to the end and you're like, I did it.
It's the best feeling. It's really the best feeling. I was just drafting a copy of my newsletter for next month called The Cauldron. And I was, writing this little bit about how writing is really like running a marathon. Which I've never done.
Nope. I'm not a runner.
I don't plan to. But I can imagine, you're stuck in this long, grueling process. You might hit a wall at a certain point. There's other people running with you and they might help you, offer you words of encouragement, give you some of their water, but each person is in their own journey to finish this race. And once you do, you're going to feel so good, but yes, you suffer along the way. It's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely. When do you find time to write? I know you do a few different things.
Yeah, that's lately I haven't been finding a lot of time to write, to be honest, and that's something I need to shift about my schedule. I tend to try to create parameters for myself. So I actually wrote much of The Gold Persimmon while at my desk working at various office jobs. I've written all kinds of things, just you have a few minutes in between. So instead of checking Facebook, you do some editing or you write out a couple paragraphs. But I tend to require myself to work on a book for a number of hours per week, or to produce another number of pages per week. I really respond well to that kind of structure. And it also gives me a goal that I can meet and feel good about at the end of the week, like a mini version of that. Yay, I'm finished.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your picking potions?
Oh, pick your potions. Yeah. So one of the things that keeps me really busy is I am a home mixologist, which is just something I kind of just fell into because it's fun. And I turn books into cocktails, or booktails, as I call them. I started out with my own. I made 6 pairings of cocktails and mocktails for the Gold Persimmon, which you can get for free if you pre-order the book. Shameless plug. And then I started doing it for other writers for fun, to support them, to show appreciation for their work. And it's kind of blown up and become a combination of installation work and photography and mixology and all these other fun things. So I really enjoy the synesthetic process of turning something you read into something that you taste and hold and smell. I think that's a really cool challenge, and I really enjoy doing it. And I've had some of my cocktails published in LA Review of Books and Electric Literature. And I very much hope to put together a book of book tales at some point, which would be another way of supporting other authors too.
Last question. What do you find the inspiration for either the cocktails or writing, or what inspires you?
Everything and nothing. You never know where it's going to come from. I think reading always inspires me. If I want to be inspired, if I want to get ideas, I read. If I find something good that gets under my skin, it will spark some different ideas. Because what is writing? It's reconstituting the experience you have in the world into a metaphoric or symbolic representation of that. So definitely from things I read. With cocktails, I comb the book pretty closely and just kind of latch on to certain details I can make something out of, like imagery, or if there's like certain color themes, or like, if a character has a certain preference about something, or a certain tick or peccadillo or something like that, something that matters to them, I'll latch onto that. And so that's a little more of a concrete process for me. But in terms of my own writing, sometimes I don't even know. Sometimes it comes from a dream, and sometimes I just simply like hear a line of something in my mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that and try to build off of it. But honestly, half the time, I don't know where this stuff comes from. I have a really weird imagination, which everyone's going to get to wander around in reading my stuff. And I don't even know what goes on in there. Every time my partner and I watch something really weird and creepy, I go, "This is strange. Seems like something you would write." And I'm like, "Thank you."
I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I'm like, "Thank you. I'm glad you think I would write Suspiria."
Well, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. Likewise. Great to be here.